What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So as much as I want to get a riding video for you guys, Wisconsin here is not cooperating with us, and we're getting lots of snow, which is good, so we can play with this thing in the snow. But it is brutally cold. Like, it is negative 15 degrees outside right now without the wind chill. So I figured today is probably a good day to be in the garage because it's warm in here because I got it heated. And we're going to install a Fuel Customs intake. I'm unfortunately still waiting for the exhaust. It still has not shipped. So I finally got a little time before we start doing our family Christmases and whatnot. So I figured what a better time to install a Fuel Customs intake. On a side note, I hope the video is all right. This is being filmed on my old iPhone rather than I was using my old Note before. Trying something a little different, see how this one works out. I would like to eventually get a big camera, but they're expensive. And honestly, I just don't know enough about them to know what to get. The phones work really good. I'm just trying to figure out which one I like better. Yeah, so we're gonna try the iPhone for a change. And yeah, let's get this installed. This is what everything comes with. I believe this is the AIS Delete, if I'm not mistaken. It goes with two boots. I got two boots. I think I ordered an extra one, and I didn't realize it came with one. But the air filter, I did get the one with the box, and then the actual intake itself. Plastics are all off. Probably don't have to take everything off, but I just did it so it makes it easier. Everything's more open, more light. It just makes it a little easier to work on. I probably didn't have to really take the gas tank off or anything up front, but I did anyway. I will be removing these stupid things because I have a hard time getting at these. Get my hand up in here because these freaking reflectors are in the way. And they look stupid, so I'm taking them off. But I'll do that later. You take the whole stock airbox out. We don't use the stock one at all. We replace it with this one because I opted in for the airbox, which I highly recommend. I think the only way they say you don't really need it is if you maybe ride in the sand. But we're gonna do a lot of trail riding, dusty, muddy, you know, probably some race tracks and stuff. So I wanted the box. So it's gonna replace the stock one. It's gonna go in here. And then I guess this is where they say it gets really tight. It's trying to get up in there to put it on, I think. So all right, old intake is out. So I'm gonna show you guys the difference between the Fuel Customs. Look how huge that is, how open it is. You know, it is gets a little restrictive here, obviously for fitment issues, compared to look how skinny that is and then how restrictive this is. So that should be a lot more free flowing. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is where the sensor mounts on the intake, because this one's got a nice flat surface and that one's not. So Fuel Customs, if you see this, please kind of maybe update this at some point. This is my only complaint on this so far. With the Fuel Customs, you'll get this little adapter piece, and then they provide you with two different hose clamps. One's gonna be for this end, and then obviously one's for the adapter. For this side that goes on the actual intake, you'll reuse the factory one. All right, so we're gonna try to put just this on first without the intake. Tighten the carburetor side first, then put the intake on and the adapter. See if that works better. It is very tight in there. There's really not a lot of room. Now let's see if I can get this side on. I'm gonna bolt the box down first. tight. I'm actually not sure why they sent the second hose clamp. I think this was originally to replace both hose clamps, but I used the stock one on the factory side, or on the carburetor side, because it actually was easier. So I'm assuming these are supposed to go together, but I actually didn't look at this real close and I thought this was bigger. Don't need that. So I'll take the air intake. They say to remove this because this has to go through. So then you'll actually hose clamp it on the outside of the airbox, which is a little goofy. So you kind of actually got to take this apart, which I'm not super huge on. With the hose clamp being on the outside of the airbox, it's good and bad. It's good because it helps keep the filter on, so there's really no way it can fall off unless the clamp were to physically come loose. The downside is this. It's a pain in the ass to put on. So like I said, good and bad. I'm assuming that's why they designed it the way they did, was for securement purposes, but like I said, makes it much more of a pain to install. Snug her up. That's tight. That part ain't going nowhere. We did not tighten the other side of the boot yet, so I wanted to make sure this is right where it needs to be. So everything fits decent. We're gonna push it forward as far as we can, and now we're gonna snug up the other side. So the carburetor side's already tight. The box is already tight because we want to make sure that's gonna be where it's at. And then the filter is tight so that we know that's gonna go in. And I can't push it physically any farther. There is a small gap so that if you could, it would, but obviously it is tight on the other side of the boot. So now we're gonna snug that up, put our filter in, and then put our sock on, and that portion is done. Okay, as you can see right back in there, that is the intake boot. And I watched a video where a guy complained about his constantly coming off. The one that you can see where the two screws are up top, that's the carburetor side. That one, you don't have a lot of wiggle room on the actual boot. That one can only go in one spot. The intake side, as you can see, there's a pretty good sized gap. That is because I slid it all the way to the edge of the boot on the adapter so that it gets the most bite on the actual intake tube so that I don't have problems with it falling off. I physically got in there with a screwdriver. I had to use a pretty long screwdriver, refocus, to get in there and push it all the way to the back. That way I would not have issues with it falling off. I know there's a guy that complained about that, but like I said, if you have it right up to the edge and it's right on the edge of the intake tube, as soon as that intake tube moves a little bit, it's going to pop off. By pushing it all the way to the back so that it's up farther in that tube will help hold it on better. Just a word of advice for anybody doing this. And then making sure this is on all the way. Like I said, pulling it as far as it can, getting a nice bite on there, getting it nice and tight. This whole thing is very snug now. So now all I got left is this. So we're going to put this on, and should be able to put everything back together. So the only thing you might be wondering about are these tubes. So we removed this box right here, right? This is for, I can't remember, something with the emissions stuff, and it basically pumps oil back into your intake, and that's the way they just did it. It's very stupid. And that's what this AIS delete's for. And then I'm assuming because there's a nut in here, I'm assuming that is for this long bolt that is already bolted to this. I'm assuming you drill a small hole in here and bolt it back up to this or something. I'm not doing that, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm gonna order a kit. So I'm not gonna touch this. I'm gonna leave this for now. We're not riding it until we get this kit. I'm gonna order it. 38 Motorsports makes a oil breather kit that deletes all that crap. So we're gonna order that. It's 120 bucks. I highly recommend it. The AIS plate, I'm assuming otherwise, would just go in between his tube, because otherwise there's no way to block this off. I'm assuming it just goes in between here just to block it. But this kit that I'm gonna order deletes all of that. Gets rid of it completely. Gets 3 new tubes. So stay tuned to that video. I highly recommend if you're doing this, do that. So it just deletes all this shit. All this emissions crap, gone. So we're gonna put the sensor in, and it should be done. Should be it. Unless, like I said, you want to put that box back on. I'm assuming it just bolts right onto the side of this. You'd have to draw a small hole, use the nut that's provided, and I'm assuming that's what that's for. Don't quote me on that, but I'm assuming that's what that's for. Is they provide you with a Allen to use, so we're gonna get rid of, well, that's a really long Allen. We're gonna get rid of this shitty screw, and then we're gonna stick this in here. Yeah. If I can remember to point the camera while I'm doing this. And then you just lightly screw this in. Like I said, this is my only complaint on this intake so far, is I'm not super huge on this. I'm not going to crank this overly tight because I don't want to break it. But as you can see, I just don't like the small gap that it leaves. I don't think it's going to leak, but I'm just not super huge on that. So Fuel Customs, if you can maybe update this and make this a little bit flatter somehow, I think that would be great for your product, because other than that, it's actually a pretty nice kit. So I like it otherwise. This fits pretty good. This is pretty snug. This is, I tell you what, was a little bit of a pain in the butt to get the box in here. This does go on the outside of the existing thing in here. I had to move my battery cables too, because for some reason they went to the intake box instead of over here where they're supposed to. But other than that, it fits really well. So I like the product. Just don't like I said that. I just want to add, so this sensor, you have to be careful with. You might have to adjust your intake and twist it this way to get your sensor over far enough. When you first do this and put your seat on, you got to really watch so that this little, you'll see this seat mount right here, these two, make sure it does not hit your sensor, because the last thing you want to do is break your sensor. This is really hard to do with one hand. Last thing you want to do is break your sensor out. So you see mine is like right close to it, but then it sits on perfect and doesn't hit my sensor. But keep an eye on that so you don't break your sensor off. You might have to twist your intake as far as you can. I had to do mine just a hair. I am not sponsored by literally any of the stuff I put on here. I am just fully paying out of pocket for all this. And this is just on my honest reviews and all this stuff. So if I don't like something, I'll tell you. If you're looking to purchase any of the big three, I highly, 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 highly recommend going to Illinois Power Sports. His link is down below for his Facebook and for his website, and order anything for the big three. He recommends this intake. He actually likes the Dassler exhaust better, but I went with the Rossier. Obviously not here yet. And then I got my ECU through him. If you order everything through him, he can get anything you want for the big three, for those things at least. He will get you a better discount and you'll save money. I promise you. I ordered this through somebody else, and I wish I would have ordered it through Jay, because I would have saved a lot of money. Just learn from my mistakes. Damn. She's done. There you have it. Fuel Customs intake is on, is done. There's no instructions in this kit, at least not the one that I got. And I ordered it right from Fuel Customs. There's no freaking instructions, and I don't know how to do any of this, so I am literally going by just trying to figure this out on my own. But it looks freaking sweet. I tell you what, look at that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this helps you install it because it is a little bit confusing. And yeah, so stay tuned for the next video because we're gonna do the oil breather kit and the AIS delete kit all in the same video because those kind of go together. Otherwise you just use the block off plate. I think they're just sandwiches between the two things. I don't really know because like I said, there's no instructions. So that's my only guess. Otherwise I don't know what the hell you do with all the hoses. So we're just gonna order that kit just to make it easier, clean it up, get rid of everything that we don't need. It'll just be healthier for the motor. I will order the bracket for the little hanger thing that's off like I think in 2014, but I'll order all that, talk about it in the next video when we get everything in stock. And yeah, so that should be pretty cool. We're getting this thing, I'm telling you, we're getting this thing great. This thing is gonna be emissions free and it's gonna run like a freaking dream by the time it's done. So I'm learning on this. This is my first Yamaha, so if you guys want to learn how to make your Yamaha freaking rip, keep watching these videos. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you comment down below, I'll try to answer as many questions as I can up to my knowledge. So stay tuned for the next one. Peace out, guys.